welcome to this episode of Mind Matters. I'm Simon Lee Marion, and today I have the enormous pleasure of speaking to Vicky Newsome-Hogan, and I am very excited to share this with you because her story is one of enormous hardship, trauma, courage, and determination against many odds throughout her life for all sorts of reasons. I have an introduction here that she sent me that I will read to you because her life is jam-packed and it's an astonishing story, and one I feel privileged that she is happy to share with me and with you. So Vicky is a 60-year-old transsexual woman born in the East End of London and grew up in the care system. After leaving school, joined the London Fire Brigade and served in South London. But after 4 years of service, she joined the army, enlisting into the infantry, and served in Northern Ireland, Germany, and UK. Then transferred to military police, and following training was posted to Berlin, where she was serving with when the Berlin Wall fell, and completed several other postings before joining UK civilian police, serving in the Midlands. In '97, resigned and retrained and worked with young offenders in a residential drug and alcohol rehab unit. In '98, she emigrated to Canada with her then wife and children. Her first 2 years in Canada, she was the senior investigator at a large private investigation agency before moving back into social care, working with both adult and young youth homelessness, addictions, and then outreach to children involved in prostitution. Was forced to retire through illness and disability, medically retired, and at the same time decided to come out as transgender, which was a complete secret from literally everyone she knew up to that point. After enduring relentless harassment, she decided in 2016 to return to UK and undergo her transition from male to female. She eventually moved into a coastal area, a retirement dream, where she met and married her unbelievably supportive wife, who operates a wildlife charity and who supported her all the way through PTSD therapy and transition. In 2019, she completed a social, legal, and medical transition, became heavily involved in charitable work with organizations such as the Samaritans and various community projects. She was eventually diagnosed with chronic PTSD, and after going to several unsuccessful therapists, she found Icarus and began treatment, which was with myself. She discontinued voluntary work in order to undergo treatment and to complete medical transition. After about 2 years of intense and sometimes extremely difficult therapy, her treatment was successful, and she again felt she was ready to begin voluntary work as Hampshire and Isle of Wight Crime Stoppers committee member, and on several consultation panels, including a veterans charity and the Hampshire office of the Police and Crime Commissioner. Her goal now is to become a criminal court magistrate, and she's recently undergone the selection process. She's now in a place that she thought she never would be able to achieve, and is happy and content in life, and certain in the knowledge that transitioning and living open and honestly as the person she always was, and facing, which was at the time difficult therapy, has brought her to a place of peace and happiness she never thought possible. One of her favorite quotes by Maya Angelou is, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, compassion, some humor, and style." So this gives you an insight into an extraordinary life, and I'm delighted to introduce you to Vicky now. Okay, so morning, Vicky. Thank you.
Morning.
Afternoon. Yeah, it is afternoon.
Yeah, it is.
I don't even know what day it is either, so let alone the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on and
My pleasure.
Chat.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And happy anniversary for last week.
Thank you. 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
You'd have thunk it, eh?
I know.
Actually, it's not in my sleep or anything yet. Which is, she's out at the moment. She's doing the birds at the moment. She runs that rescue.
Yes.
Here. Yeah. But she sends us best wishes.
Excellent. Well, say obviously likewise back when she gets in. It's I know we've talked about this for on and off for a little while about having a chat on here. And I'm delighted that you have today, because I know, I think, as you'll hear afterwards and thanks for sending your bio thing, your intro through us, because I basically read that out to make sure that I didn't miss anything, and to kind of give people a teaser insight into what I've described. Really, you've had quite an astonishing life.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. I must have had the uniforms or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's it's only later on that you realise the reasons why you did all these things. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's got me where I am.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've had the full gamut of trials and tribulations, I think, really. Which is fine.
But I said to God, God, why me? He said, there's something about you that just pisses me off. But, yeah, not good and bad, not all bad.
Yeah, that's the life is hard, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
and it's full of ups and downs and twists and a lot of shit and turmoil, but there's a lot of good stuff along the way. Yeah,
and like things can change at the flick of a switch. Things like where I am these days, to be where I am now is an impossible thought. A few years ago, it's, if I'd have turned left instead of right, it'd be completely different. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So you have to, this is with hindsight, live in the moment, because things can change.
In the blink of an eye. Yeah. The thing that really stands out for me is your resilience and your determination at kind of every stage of life it's incredible, really, considering.
I don't think it's anything special. It's just part of me. I didn't do it because of this, because that. It's just, I don't know. I just probably don't know when to give up.
No, and that when that's applied in the right way, it's a great thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And that's, I suppose, from the military, etc., from the jobs you've had, civil services in terms of fire service and police and being in the army. There's a lot of natural resilience built through the training in those and doing the job. So I think that
it's taken me quite a while to sort of get to the point. I mean, I've been out of the services, that side, the uniform services, since '98, I think. But it's taken me a long time to actually understand that the things that I've seen and that I've done or been involved in or witnessed are everyday things. But one of those things for anybody else that hasn't been through that is a lifetime one event. And it took me a long time to realize that, as veterans, we go through all that. We see things and do things, even just the way you're trained in the army. They train you. If they tell you to go, you go. You don't even think about it. And it took me a long time to get back into Civvy Street, to be honest.
It does take a long time. I think that's one of the standout biggest issues for people leaving the military is trying to become a normal, what's classed as a normal civilized member of society. It's difficult because they prepare you to be what they want you to be, but there's no preparation really.
No,
to become a normal functioning human being afterwards.
When I got sent back to UK, to Donington, lovely Donington, and I was bored stiff. So I used to go out, I was military police then. I used to go out with the local bobbies all the time. And I just thought, this is all right, you're operational every day. And so back I went. As I was in Berlin as a military policeman, and it's a different thing. Being in the British sector, you were the primary police force. And it was coming from that, going to Donington, where, you're pretty bored, to be honest. I went straight into the police. There are reasons. Obviously, I'm transsexual as well. That's been part of me since I was a kid. I didn't even realize any of that for years. I thought there was something wrong with me. I mean, it was a total, complete secret. I've been married twice before, got 5 kids. Well, 4, 1 died last year. My daughter Kate died from a drug overdose in Canada. It's just the things that I did were sort of ready-made identities. This is what I've realized later, that back in those days, I'm 60 years old now. Back in those days, there were only male firemen. I went into a male infantry regiment and then into the military police, which was really my first time of ever working with females. So everything is very male orientated. So there's a ready-made identity in every single one of them, you know, and because I didn't have a clue how to be a bloke, to be honest. I've always been a bit different, and there was stuff as growing up. I grew up in care. So yeah, that's why I got into those things. I mean, it's all tied in with what I now know is because I'm transsexual, but back then I didn't have a clue what it was or anything. I thought there was something wrong with me. Am I gay? But I didn't fancy men. You know, I'm a weirdo, but yeah, so it was quite confusing. I always describe it as do you know in the Braveheart movie where at the end he's gliding on his back along the ground, just above the ground. That's basically how it felt until I transitioned, how I lived my life. You know, semi-conscious, sort of gliding across, just going with the flow sort of thing, not really participating in life as such.
Okay.
Anyway.
No. It's, well, you know, it's really interesting to hear your perspective on your life, and because, you know, I don't know who else is going to watch this, who's been through similar in some ways. I don't think there's many people who've kind of lived the life that you have. So I think, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can experience, that you can share, that will undoubtedly help at least one person.
Well, the whole trans thing at the moment has become sort of toxic. I don't really participate anymore because it is so toxic. You can't have an opinion, even me. You know, you can't have an opinion. You can't say this, you can't say that. And it's just got so toxic. It's time that everyone just sort of like sat back, maybe smoke a joint or something, and then meet together, you know, and then let people say what their concerns are, respectful, you know. So that won't happen at the moment, but I think it needs to. You know, I'm very open. I call myself transsexual because for me, these just my personal experience. Transgender has lost its meaning for me. You know, I was reading something this morning. There's a festival in Glasgow, and if you want to book tickets, you've got an option of 51 genders. Yeah, it's called Riverside. If you ever look, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I don't even get it anymore, so I stay out of it all. But I do try to, you know, I'm very, very open. People can ask me questions, you know, but everyone's sort of afraid to at the moment. But I'm very open. If you ask me anything personal, respectfully, I'll tell you. You know, people don't know, and that's how, you know, you gain acceptance by people getting understanding, not by terrorizing them. Yeah.
Well, so it's not particularly helpful. I think it's almost like there's another pandemic of taking offense. Yeah.
Everything is like people I meet now, they say to me, you know, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm like, calm down, you know, and I've got a good sense of humor. I mean, that's got me through a lot, and I have a bit of a humor about it now. I've been through the, you know, Y-front burning stage and all this and that, you know. But once you go, like I've transitioned. Sorry for talking about this at the beginning. It sort of underpins where I am psychologically, to be honest, after PTSD being kicked off when I came out.
Yes.
So, so, you know, you get to a certain point. I've done the social transition. I've done the complete medical transition. I've also done the legal transition where I've got a new birth certificate.
Yes.
Doesn't make me a woman. I'll get stoned in the village square for this one, but it's my opinion. I am not a birth sex woman. I am a trans woman. You know, there's a difference. And I think people need to actually understand that. I mean, there's a term called cis, which is what they term people that are comfortable in their gender and expression sort of thing, cis woman, cis man, but it's become an insult. So I always say birth sex, female, you know, and it's people need to listen. Women have fought hard for these rights, you know, and to feel safe. And I have never experienced what my wife has gone through, being scared walking down the street at night, to the point that she has, you know, been, you know, and I can't relate to that. Obviously, I can understand and empathize, but, you know, I haven't been through that sort of side of it. So we need to respect that and get a well-balanced, you know, free speech. You're allowed to have thoughts. Free speech means that you won't hear everything that you like. You're going to hear things that you don't like, you know?
Yes.
So that's part of it, you know, and as long as it's done in a good spirit, then that's fine. Then you know what's on the table, you know. But anyway,
Yeah, there is. Well, no, I think it's it's delightfully refreshing to hear someone speak like this on these sort of topics. And as you said, I mean, you're much more in a position to speak your mind about it than I am.
Well,
I'd get bloody hung, drawn, and quartered for some of the things,
I know.
One of the conversations we've had in the past,
Yeah. Well, I asked someone to explain to me what non-binary was, and I was told I can't ask. Why? You want me to go around calling you? I mean, people, I support 1,000% people going out and express themselves however they want, but you don't terrorize them into behaving in a certain way. I probably will get hung for this one, but gay rights have come a million miles to today. Yes. I obviously wasn't part of that, but they didn't do it by threats. They didn't do it by, you will say this or we're going to cancel you. You can't have this thought. And they've got to this point, and that's what needs to happen. It's become toxic now because a lot of the general public, from what I see, are upset about all this. They're like, enough's enough. Like, and trans rights, I mean, I don't even know what they are, to be honest.
Well, I don't think many people do. I mean, the general public, I mean, I find this very confusing because, and it's so easy to say the wrong thing to someone because you don't know, with that many ways for people to identify, how are you supposed to know? And if you get it wrong, then you get torn a new arse because they're offended.
Well, they now say that biology isn't real. I mean, it's real. Cut me open, I've got male physiology inside. The surgery I've had is basically cosmetic surgery.
Yeah,
basically. That's, and like there's things that I've had. I'm disabled now, as you know. I'm quite gimpy, but I could still overpower my wife. So this thing where men are competing in female sports, or not men, trans women are competing in female sports. I mean, that's just, to me, I just don't get it in the majority of sports. It's just why, the Paralympians, they get classed as to their abilities.
Yes.
But why not have a league where gender diverse, or whatever the current term might be, people that don't identify in the male and female sports can compete in this? I mean, Paralympians don't complain. It's very successful. So why not something like that? Just compromise. Don't say, look, if I say I'm a woman, then I will do this. But what about the birth sex women? It's all got very toxic. Anyway, it's a sort of a pet subject of mine. I'm very open. I've met when my daughter passed away in Canada, and had her ashes brought, and Military Police Association managed to bring her down from Nottingham, I think it was.
Okay.
And I met the RMPA chairman, Military Police Association chairman, and we had this thing, and he came out in '83, and I got so much more respect and understanding because, look, let's all calm down. Don't be worried about upsetting me. If they do it on purpose, then obviously,
well, that's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But most people, they make a mistake. They're scared to make a mistake, and it shouldn't be like that. If they want to be acceptance and join society, stop being separate from it.
Yes. Yeah. It's there's
you can edit all that, Simon, if you like.
No, not at all. No, I think it's such a confusing playing field now. Nobody knows what to say, what to do, who they can speak to, who they can't, because some people don't even want to engage with you because I think it's dangerous for society because for that level of confusion. And for children. The confusion now is like everybody just needs to calm down a bit. They're deconstructing the whole of the world, or trying to. These people, like, I think a lot of it as well is like if someone walk down in the road in a diaper with an inflated marigold on their head, and that's how they express themselves, you go for it. Brilliant. It'd be an interesting world. But don't start saying it's your gender. I just don't get it. I don't even know what gender means anymore. It's all got confused. Yeah, this is, well, there was that and it's been traveling around the internet in various platforms, was Sir Robert Winston. And it was he's dark curly hair, bushy, looks like a bit like Mario.
Well, I think I saw something. Yeah.
Professor Robert Winston, he's phenomenal, and he was interviewed. He said, "I'm going to get loads of hate mail for this," but he said, biologically, there are two genders: there's male and female.
Yeah.
And somebody else I was talking to, said, "Well, what happened? You know, when you die and you get that tag on your toe, they don't differentiate between the two biological sexes, two genders, male or female. That nobody is interested medically in terms of how you identify when you're a corpse."
Yeah.
So at the beginning and the end of life, it comes down to two labels.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, some people are very likely not going to like me saying that and repeating what Robert Winston said. But
absolutely, but I agree. I think what's happening now is social media has got a lot to answer for. And, I mean, yeah, they've got a lot to answer for. I didn't even know what transgender was when I came out. Never heard it. I didn't have a clue what it was.
Okay.
You know, I just knew that this was me. And then I sort of found all this out afterwards. I ended up getting quite involved with trans support stuff. But I think what's happening now is the kids, they grew up on video games. And now they can create their own avatars. And I think what a lot of people might be doing, not a lot, but some people may be trying to transfer that into the real world and mistaking the personality and personal expression of themselves as a gender.
Yeah.
And there are cases now that are happening where they've gone through the process. I've heard lesbians say that if I was a lesbian, teenage lesbian today, I'd be convinced I was a boy. You know, so I think it needs to calm down a little bit. And obviously there are people like me. I mean, I firmly believe I get called true scum and transmed because I believe this is a medical condition. And there is certain aspects of me physically that, you know, they aren't typical of male, shall I say. I've always been a bit weaker than men. I've always had a nice pair of legs on me. Went down well in the barrack room. On a long short, it's pretty good. No. Oh dear, here we go. There are people, but people need to sort of stop terrorizing people. If they want to be whatever, then don't try and force people, because after all, we are a minority. I'm a minority. Or the trans, but they're a minuscule minority in the face of the world. Yeah, the world is changing, but it won't change by trans terrorism, you know. And if you want trans rights, what exactly rights do you want? I've got a birth certificate that says I'm female. That process, they say, oh, that's too intrusive. No, it's not. If you're transsexual, that's why I refuse to use the term transgender anymore, because I'm transsexual. It denotes a separate. There is a group of quite influential transsexual women. One's called Debbie Hayton. She's a physicist. And we actually all co-signed a letter to the World Rugby Federation saying that please don't allow trans women to play in birth female rugby. And they upheld it because it's dangerous. I used to play rugby. You know, I used to imagine me getting in a scrum with, you know, Claire, who's 5'2". You know, it's
yes. No, there has to be a line drawn somewhere.
Anyway, that's but so yeah, I like we said, I grew up at 5 years old. I come from the East End of London, Jack the Ripper country, and when I was 5, I was attacked by a stranger in a stairwell, and about 6 months later, I ended up in an orphanage in Mill Hill. My parents both put me there, and I ended up growing up in care. And so I think then it was just sort of, that's when it sort of, I didn't fit in with the boys groups. Up until then, you know, I just couldn't fit in. I got on with people, but I just wasn't one of the lads, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah.
But yes,
being in that kind of confined community was really started to highlight things.
Yeah, and there was, but then when I left there, I was sort of, I went into the fire service. I was in London. I was at my first station was Surbiton. And my last station was Tooting. So you can imagine that was that was a hectic station. We had underground stations and all sorts. And from that, I went traveling for a little bit with a girlfriend I had at the time and came back wondering what am I going to do? And one day I was walking down Norbury High Street and I walked past the Army recruiting office, stopped, thought that looks like a good idea, went in and joined up. So
really?
I ended up in the Army, yeah.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah. And obviously going through all the things that I have done, the PTSD, I didn't even know I had PTSD, to be honest, until I came out, and which was in Canada. I got sick and came out at the same time, and I ended up with quite a bit of severe harassment over there.
Yeah.
And that really kick-started the PTSD. And so I decided to come back to England in 2016. And, you know, even then I didn't know what was going on. So the PTSD, I just thought, you know, am I an arsehole, to be honest? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
because there's a lot of people can relate to that. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
to be honest, it's a relief to know some people might disagree, but I'm actually not. Because we all know what the symptoms of PTSD are, and I think I had all the best ones. But yeah, so, but then I came to the, I'm just sort of giving you a brief synopsis of, you know, my life. And basically, I would like to talk about how I overcome it and what PTSD treatment looks like.
that would be good, yeah.
I mean, I came back, I was hypervigilant to extremes. I didn't trust a single person. I always thought everybody had ulterior motives. I've never been physically violent, but verbally I was. And, you know, I had no barriers. If I had something to say to you, I'd say it. And which was wrong. You know, it wasn't me. And one of the reasons I left Canada is because of the harassment. I was behaving in ways that just weren't me. You know? It just wasn't me. There was people I was getting attacked all over the shop. But so yeah, I came here, and then for some strange reason, I don't know how I ended up on the Isle of Wight. I couldn't get any help when I come back from Canada. Couldn't get anywhere to live, and all of a sudden this flat came up on the Isle of Wight. I'd never been here, didn't know it, but always wanted to retire to the seaside. So I came here. And then in 2017, I took an injured pigeon to a rescue. And my wife, my now wife, ran that rescue. And that's how we met. And well, cut a long story short, we got married. A boyfriend of 21 years went too chuffed when I turned up. But, you can imagine, bit of a shock. But yeah, she's only ever known me as Vicky as well. And she was with me going through it. I mean, it's so important to have someone that sees the you on the other side, that has some understanding that it isn't you. The way you're behaving, yeah, it's wrong. You know, I mean, I knew it was wrong. You know, I would catastrophizing is the right way.
Yes.
Everything was a nightmare, you know, that. And when I came here, I got quite involved in some sort of voluntary work and stuff. And I've always been upfront. I mean, my background, you know, as a fireman, a police officer, and a soldier, you don't beat around the bush. You say what you got to say. This is happening now, sort of thing. And yeah. I did that, and that was part of not understanding the civilian way of life, especially coming from like my adult life, all in uniform, until I went into social care after the police, which was that was good. That was another. But I was searching for myself. I was trying to find out: is this me? Is this me? People say, "How come you've had so many jobs?" And it's like, is this me? No, I don't fit. Like, that sounds good. Maybe that, you know, it's all subconscious. It's semi-conscious living. It's weird. Anyway, I decided that I had to do something. So after a few false starts, I eventually found that I couldn't go through incidences. The people that I went to before, the NHS basically didn't know where to start. I went to another one, and it was going through the incidents, visualization and that sort of thing. And that wasn't, because every time I thought of one incident, another one happened that I'd remember. Yeah. And things, it was just snowballing, and it'd go from something happened in the army when I was a police officer, as a fireman when I was a kid. You know, it was just all over the place. It was a nightmare. I mean, it was terrible. But then obviously I came to Icarus. And it's really important to click with the therapist who's working with you. It's really important. You have to, even if you have to keep searching, just don't waste your time. If you don't get on, then don't waste your time. Find someone. There's someone out there that you can talk to, you know, and do something about it. I've come out the other end now. I mean, I've just been through the process to become a magistrate. Yeah, cost me 4 years ago. No way. No,
definitely not. No.
I mean, and also, I mean, I put it out there as well that medication helped me tremendously. It did.
That was definitely a big step for you, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't want to take meds, you know, but I won't miss one. You know, the peace that you can get, and it won't. There's no magic pill, there's no magic wand, and there's no magicians out there. But what there is, there isn't. I wish there was. That's why I was looking for the magic wand, and there isn't one. And it just takes time. And gradually, as I think we were in therapy for like 2 or 3 years, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you get to the point where I got to the point where I realized that I was looking backwards all the time. You know, look at me, I'm on the Isle of Wight. I'm medically retired, but I'm capable of doing stuff still. I'm married to someone that must be completely bonkers, which it is, you know, and I'm looking back, like worrying about what happened back then. And, you know, it's tiring. And then I've consciously made the decision, right, I'm now going to look forward. What do I want the future to look like based on the grounding that I've got now? And that's exactly what happened. And at the same time, went on to medication, and it was just a combination of the two has brought me to where I am now. I get people all the time telling me how different I am now, you know, and there's, and, you know, I've been a bit of an arse at times, and I've gone back and tried to apologize, but people don't want to know or whatever. So, but my conscience is clear. If they can't understand that, you know, someone was suffering from something, but now look at the work they've done, then that's fine. You know, I understand. But no, to get to where I am now, it's just, I wouldn't have never thought it. Never.
Well, do you know what? I mean, to hear you tell your story the way you've told it today, when we first met, you've never been able to do that.
Well, I told you where to go so many times, you should be pregnant.
That's all part and parcel of the job. It's,
yeah. And the good thing, that has got me through is the humor, having a sense of humor. You know, obviously I've lost it at times, but the people speak about a veteran's dark humor. I mean, you can imagine I was in the London Fire Brigade in South London around the time of the Brixton riots. We had an underground station there, and you had to have a sense of humor. You had to, you know, and I mean, I've cried sometimes after work on the way home. I think we must have all seen things that have made you that. But yeah, you just have to have a sense of humor. You got to be able to laugh at yourself and don't take yourself too seriously. I did. I took myself seriously. How dare you? Don't you do this? You know, but that was all part and parcel of conditioning, PTSD, etc. But you know, it's definite process. There's no way out of it, and you don't know how that process is going to look. You know, and I think you told me that, you know, it may get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, you know, treatment, therapy isn't always comfortable. It's not always nice.
And it did. But if I can get through it, anyone can. You know, you just have to say, right, you know, do I want a better life? Yes, I do. And do I like reacting to things like this? No, I don't. So you have to do something about it. That's one of my pet hates that I'm working on, is people not helping themselves. You know, that I used to do, as I said in my bio, I worked with the homeless in Canada. In England, I worked in a drug rehab residential place in Shrewsbury called Gordana House. And I worked with Fresh Start, a young offender program, residential program, where I was a police officer. Quite interesting. I thought I was undercover for the first 3 weeks. Wouldn't speak to anything. I'd walk in a room and it goes silent. But no, and then I went to Canada, and I've seen things from both sides. Like, I've got a very strong sense of law and order, that, you know, in order for society to function, we have to have laws, and there has to be accountability. You know, there has to be. Yes, there's extenuating circumstances, people, whatever happens to people in their life, but there has to be that. And that's a good thing. What I see with the judicial system now is that they're focused, they're working, not focusing. You will get punished, but they'll also try and help you so you don't commit further crimes, which benefits the public and the victims, you know, which is a good move. You know, jail isn't working, you know. No, it doesn't work. There are people that should be in jail, believe me. Oh yeah, and you know, but there's things that they often have. People think magistrates. I obviously going for the magistrates recently. I did a lot of studying, and I did some court sessions and stuff like that. And it is. You see in the paper how they get slagged off all the time and this and that, but there's guidelines that they have to adhere to. There's the other side of life where they hear the other side, and they're not fools. Magistrates aren't fools. You know, they know when they're being bullshitted. But they give people the option, but there does come a point where obviously that option doesn't happen anymore. But it's nice to see that that sort of thing's happening. I forgot how we got onto this now. You know me, I'll go off on a tangent, don't I?
That's right. No, it's good. The whole point of this is to allow things to flow in the way they flow. That's
Yeah. But you know me, I'll go off on a tangent.
That's right. Tangents are often fun.
Yeah, I've behaved myself so far. But no, as Simon will attest, I've got a bit of a sense of humour that I get a lot of. You didn't just say that, looks, but oh well.
I know. I've got to. I must admit, it's almost like having Tourette's at times. Things escape my mouth.
Yeah.
When the brakes definitely should have been on.
Yeah, but no, it's with the PTSD. I mean, I feel I was diagnosed with chronic CPTSD. I mean, I won't mind saying that whilst we were going through therapy together, I ended up assisting in 2 historical inquiries into childhood victims of sex abuse. Yep. As a victim, not as an offender. And I got interviewed by the Metropolitan Police regarding what happened to me when I was 5 years old, and with Surrey Police regarding a place in Woking that I was in the mid-70s. And that was right in the middle of all this. So I'm sure you remember it. And yes, I had my surgery right in the middle of it and got knocked back for the surgery. Remember, I was supposed to have my surgery in May, and I went there and it got put back 6 months, so I had to wait. So, you know, there's I think people need, like, veterans as well. You know, I've come from both sides. I can see it both sides. There is this macho element of, you know, mental health's got a stigma. There's the macho side, even with some women that have worked in the military or the police. They've got that attitude as well. Yes. But there's no harm in it if, you know, believe me, the people around you will appreciate it most of the time. You know, so, you know, do something about it.
It's necessary for that line of work, isn't it? You know, you've got to have a tough exterior, but you've also got to be equally tough on the inside. Yeah, to deal with the shit you've got to do and see.
Yeah, and it's like the fear of it. You know, it's there were things that, as we were going through, there were things I started getting. You go through phases. It's weird. It's there were things that I should have felt all the way back then, but I didn't. That I was suddenly feeling again, like that. As a fireman, the helplessness of trying to get into a kid that I couldn't get to. I felt like at the time, it was frustrating, but then I started feeling the emotions I should have felt then, because you don't. But everything's sort of unpacking, and you go through that process where you are going to feel some feelings, and that's all part of it. That's all part of it. It's like having wind, and no, I won't say that. I was going to say it's like having stomach cramps and then having a nice fart. Like, get it out.
Get it out. Yeah. It's a good analogy, though.
Oh dear. I've got a warning thing on this. Adult audiences only. That's what it's like. You have to get rid of it, and you'll feel a lot better. And you can get to where I am. If I can do it, then anybody can. Anybody. You just have to have the balls to go and do it. Excuse the pun.
Well, and then get rid of them. Yeah.
And like people, my sense of humor about the whole trans thing. I mean, like people say, like, I'm sure everyone wonders, like, what do you do with the old fella? Like, you know, and well, one thing I always say is don't use super glue. Like walking around with a packet of crisps in your knickers for a week. It's horrible. You know, you got anyway. I'll behave myself. Sorry.
Excellent. Oh dear. Just
you got humor. You got a sense of humor about it all, especially about the trans thing. Because there's so much anger out there. Everybody's angry. You know, I was one angry person, but I'm not anymore. Everybody's angry. They just need to calm down a bit. You know, like take a breath. You know, we're at the threshold of something that could be good, but it's becoming toxic. Just got threshold where free expression and the world will be technicolor again, you know, but it needs to be done in a nice way, or a much more less confrontational way. I've been confrontational, so I'm speaking from experience as well. I've seen,
Yes.
you know, that I can catch a lot more people with sugar than I can with salt, you know, and
Do you think that that community in society is kind of perpetuating the problem to a degree?
in what respect? What, the trans
Yeah,
community?
with the whole attitude and kind of
Mm,
mindset around it at the moment, in terms of everyone being offended by anything and everything and everyone,
yeah.
that's kind of fueling the angst and the
Oh,
anger,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just kind of keeping that wheel going.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely tactics. I mean, when I first came back in 2016, I ended up quite involved as admin on Facebook trans support groups. And I
Okay.
also was, I started one group where I had a very well-known gender specialist, private gender specialist as an advisor, and all sorts of things on there. And I didn't even know what non-binary was then. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
And now it's all suddenly there, which is fine. It's fine. Maybe it's always been there, but don't terrorize people. You know, people are losing their livelihoods, their reputations because of something they wrote 20 years ago. When
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, there's a leader of the council here. She put a photograph on Facebook, and she had in the background was a collection of antique little gollywogs. Next minute, she's been called a racist and everything. I mean, how ridiculous. You know, they're collector's pieces. Yeah, mate, we wouldn't do it today because we learned. That's what you do, you learn. You know?
Well, this is the thing. There's that age-old quote, who the hell, I can't remember, the name escapes me, it's just left my head. Is, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you'll always think it's an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of do the same thing. If you're judging society and people on today's standards based on things they did 10, 20, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
or 200 years ago, and tearing down statues and getting away with criminal damage because apparently it didn't happen even though it was on camera.
Mm. That was one of the questions on the magistrate's interview, one of the interviews.
Utterly fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
How that can, I can't process that.
No, it's just crazy that people, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be a police officer today. It must be a nightmare.
No.
I can imagine every job you go to, you're getting called a murderer, a rapist, or this, that, and the other. There's a lot of cops that, you know, put their heart and soul into it and do the best with what they've got. You know.
Yes.
These
Yeah.
days, that's
Most
why
people are.
I'm very. I've got a very strong sense all the way through my life, to be honest, of the sense of right and wrong, law and order. And like now, I'm the Crime Stoppers committee member for Hampshire Isle of Wight Crime Stoppers Committee, because I am passionate that this public, the way things are at the moment, finances, budgets, whatever, irrelevant. That's the way it is. The public need to be involved in their own safety and security. And like things like Crime Stoppers, you can do that. But people, they're not, everyone's become so insular. I always say now, we're no longer communities, we're a society. That's what it feels like. You know, the world has changed for the worse, and people need to get away from the computers and their phones for a bit and start learning how to interact in person again.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's so true. Technology has given us the capability to connect in a way we've never been able to do before, but it's also disconnected us.
Yeah. Well, interpersonal skills, reading people, like we all have subconscious skills. I'm sure you know all about that. You know, you don't have to say a word, non-verbal communication, stuff like that. You can't do that. And like, if you go to Facebook, you know, you could be the Queen of Siam on Facebook, but in reality, you know, you're not. You're Deirdre from down the road with 5 kids and, you know, works a cleaning job or something. Yeah. And it's ridiculous. That's why I don't do Facebook or anything anymore. It just becomes so toxic. If I see something, I couldn't help myself. It's just when the PTSD was going, of getting involved in it and telling what I thought. But I thought, no, I don't need that anymore. It became toxic.
I know. I must admit, I'm drifting further and further out of Facebook. I go in to get rid of my notifications because I hate that little red thing with a number in it telling me how many I've got.
It's just, I mean, if it was used properly, it'd be a brilliant thing.
Yeah, well, it can be, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's become so toxic and too influential. Social media is too influential in world geopolitics.
It is what it is. You know, it's not good nor bad. It's just us arsehole human beings that keep screwing it up.
Yeah. And we're pleasure-seeking animals, so whatever gives us pleasure, we'll come after.
And and that often these days is causing other people pain.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's people that say things on the internet that would never stand in front of you and say.
Good God, no.
You know, it's and you know, I mean, I'm sure you wanted to reach through the computer a few times to give me a little slap, but
No, not at all. No. Not a no. That was no.
no.
I can hand on heart tell you no.
Oh, good. But yeah, so I forgot where we were as we get onto that bit. But yes, so like the things I would do now, like going through the PTSD, went through that process, and to be honest, I was lucky. I had Claire at every step of the way. She was there at all the sessions and everything. I mean, she went through hell to the point where she ended up with a little bit of PTSD.
Yeah,
you know, without a doubt. And I accept what you do yourself. You can't blame other people all the time. I blamed the world. I was angry at the world, angry that I hadn't been born female, angry that I've had to do this, and that it led me into doing this, which I saw this or this happened. You know, I've been through all that, but which is fine. But then what does it serve? Nothing. You know, it's a punishment we give ourselves. Nobody else is doing it. You know?
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
You know, but you can, you know, if I could tell anybody, any veteran, anyone, you can get through it. You can get through it. You know, I'm not perfect. I still have little triggers. You know, if a Lynx helicopter comes too close, I'm already digging a shell scrape. You know, and I've got a bit of noise sensitivity now, which is pretty funny because I'm deaf. Not completely deaf, but you know, you can get through it. You can get through it. You just got to, like I said, have some balls and just do it.
Yes.
You know, you got through the army, you got through the Navy, whatever, you got through this, you got through domestic abuse, you got through this, that, and the other. You got through that, so you can do this. You'll surprise yourself. I mean, I surprised myself, like coming out and what I went through there and how I wouldn't back down or, you know, surrender sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can surprise yourself how strong you can be. You surprise yourself.
Yes, I think as human beings, we typically underestimate our capability.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like with the medical side of life. I went through the angry bit about that. Oh, I'm never going to run again. I can't do this. I can't do that. But then, you know, I've always had the motto: if you lose a leg, learn how to hop. So I did. Learn how to hop. Not very good at it, but you know, you just have to make the best of things. Things aren't what they are. You have to accept that you can't change the past, no matter what you do. You can maybe amend some things and explain, but you can't change what happened. So stop fretting about it. You know, go forward. Go forward. It's a better life. And I've come out the other end of childhood rape, seeing people on underground train stations, under the trains, to Northern Ireland, to the police, so you can imagine stuff there, to seeing, I mean, even just the social care work I went into. When I went to Canada, I worked for a PI agency for a while as a senior investigator. But by that time, I'd studied just before I left Leeds University for a diploma in addiction studies. And I went to Canada and I worked for a PI agency for about 2 years. And then I went back into the social care and I worked in a homeless adult intoxication unit. And so I sort of started seeing, because I felt more empathy towards working with people that way, that I had more effect.
Yeah.
I did locking them up, you know, locking them up. You know, I was always approachable as a cop. You know, I was always, back then you could have a word with someone and say, look, pack it in, you know, and they would.
Yeah.
Nowadays they can't do that. But yeah, so I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, and I mean, when I worked in a youth homeless shelter as well. I worked in a children's unit, residential unit for children with exceptional needs. I lasted about 3 weeks. I was a youth and family counsellor, and it was extreme oppositional defiance disorder and stuff like that. And that wasn't me. Spending 12 hours trying to talk one of them to come out of the tree. Not one day. Where's my SLR?
Well, it's one way to get them out, for sure.
Get the fire hose out, but no, stay away. And then I ended up, they started a program in Canada called PCHIP, Prevention of Children in Prostitution. And myself and a girl got the positions to be outreach to children involved in prostitution. So you can imagine some of the things you dealt with there and saw. So it's all coming through, and like all these things build up. And if anyone can get through all that, then I'm sure. I mean, I'm not being big-headed, you know, I'm no hero, I'm no, you know, superwoman or whatever, you know, but you just do it. You just have to go and do it. No one's going to do it for you.
Well, no, I think this is the key thing, isn't it? You've got to participate in it yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to take part in it. You can't, it's not something that happens to you.
Yeah.
And you got stuck in. You did. You put the effort in. And
I wanted to be different. Like, you know, I had the perfect wife. You know, she's 16 years younger than me. She's not rich, but she's dirty. You know, cut that bit. But you know, I was lucky. A lot of veterans go through stuff on their own, which is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I can imagine, you know, but just do it, because getting through the other side, you won't be perfect. You won't be all fixed like off you go, brand new crisp biscuit. It don't happen. You know, you've experienced your stuff, but it's learning. It's a definite process. It was just an automatic process, really, and it's each person will be different. What route that takes, you know?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, I think you know, you are testament to what you can achieve when you put your mind to it and you just commit. It's committing to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, you know, you've got to invest in yourself and you've got to put the effort in, and you absolutely have. You know, the difference in 4 years is astonishing.
Well, if you'd have asked me like years ago that I'd be in this position now, where you know, I've transitioned, obviously that's a huge thing. I even had my surgery when we were going through our business, didn't I?
Yep.
And that was just like a big switch getting thrown. You know, it was just so right and natural. It was, you know, it was great. It just, I can now be now. As a bloke, I used to be body conscious. I used to hate walking across a pub or something like that. I didn't know what to do with my arms. Now, and I'm not. I'm just me. I just, you know, like I said earlier, I'm not a woman, and I'm not really a trans woman. I'm Vicky. You know, that's I'm me. You know, be yourself, because everybody else are twats. But you know, and makes the world a lot more interesting, and you're a lot more content and happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say that at this point in my life is the first time that I've ever actually truly been happy. You know, it's just, and without waiting for the foot to drop where it all goes wrong. You know, and I'm not waiting for that foot anymore. And you know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, I've been lucky. I have been lucky. You know, obviously I found Icarus. I lucked out with you, unfortunately, but then
you know.
but like I said earlier, it's the relationship with the therapist. I mean, we, you know, I think we understood each other, and you know, when I was explaining things, you knew exactly what I was talking about. You know, that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
It does make it, the relationship. It's got to be there.
And I am lucky. A lot of veterans, they lose their partner because of PTSD. You know, and that's terrible. You know, I can understand how. I mean, I don't know how Claire put up with me, but she did. And but even if your world changes, you can still feel better in yourself. There's no need to, like, I went through the suicidal part, everything. You know, I thought that I was you know, I make everyone's life worse. I do this, I do that. You know, nobody punishes yourself more than yourself. You know.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, we know all our buttons to push, don't we?
Yeah. You know, the voice in your head isn't you. That is something within you that's conditioned, manufactured through experiences, whatever. But what the voice underneath that is you, the one that says, oh, this is wrong. Like, you know, most veterans have got a bit of awareness that, you know, they want a better life. They don't, like me, they don't realize it at first, but you do. You know, veterans don't like being on their own. They don't like going through the PTSD. They don't sit there, you know, and turn to drink to put it all out, so they sleep, or drugs or whatever, you know. But I've been lucky that I've had someone to go through it with me. But even so, just to do it. That's what I would say to veterans is go and get help. Stop being a wuss, you know. Put your the coffee off there. Go and get help. Go and get help. You can get help, and it does work.
Yes, 100%. It can do. And it is trial and error, isn't it? As you've already said, it's you got to find what works and who works. Yeah.
And you know, you can get through it. I'm living testament to it. You know, I'm 60, disabled. It'd be quite easy for me to sort of, you know, fade into the background, but I'm not done yet. You know, I'm now in a position where I'm me. I can be there. I mean, there's a few things that I did one. I do a few consultation panels, mostly around law and order. But like someone said, oh, it's nice to see the LGBT community represented. And I said, excuse me, I'm not representing anybody. I'm here representing Vicky. And I'll make sure there's not that part, you know, because I used to want to be an activist and all this and that, but my activism comes every day by living my life as normal people do, you know. And that's so yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but no, it's got me where I am now.
Well, yeah, you know, you said so many things today that just make me happy for you.
Oh, well, you know, I'm eternally grateful, and you know, I can't send you any pics anymore, can I? It's illegal now. But, oh dear. I'm going to end up in the stocks in the village square. I know I am. Oh, well, I've had a good run.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. So what would be the standout things for you from your life of which you're really make you the proudest of what you've overcome and how you've overcome it? What are the standout things that you would say to other people that this is it?
I can't. I think it's the knowledge of knowing, like I said, is that like the certainty that I'm not actually just an arsehole. You know, that is because you come down on yourself harder than anything. Like, you know,
yeah.
Like I said, I've never been physically violent, but you know, I would let rip verbally. And it was mostly, and then it tends to turn inwards, doesn't it, against yourself? Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think of the standout thing overcome. I think that all of it, to be honest. I mean, and also like I'm now in a place where I recognise things that will be difficult for me. Like I know I'll never go into an underground station again. I told you about that incident where I was under a train with a gentleman. There's a smell, stuff like that. So it's knowing that, you know, nothing's going to be perfect. But I mean, to be honest, my wife and I, we still say, no, can you believe we're here now? We made it. You know, I mean, she stood by me all through. When we had trouble finding someone that did know where I was coming from, she'd be the first one to say, right, we'll do it together. We'll do it together. And we did try, but we needed something else. And it did work. It did work.
Well, I think I don't think I can think of a session that we did where Claire wasn't there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She'd been there all through it, you know. I mean, she was there as well when I went somewhere else. They had me walking up and down wallpaper. I don't know what that was about, but I had to put blocks and make a scenario and walk up and down it, and I don't know what that. But you know, and she's been there all the way through it. She's seen the helpless parts. She's the reason I'm still here as well. Like practically, there was an incident. You know, I was in the car, the hose pipe, the lot. You know, as a fireman and police officer, I know exactly how to do it.
Well, know? Yeah.
And she stopped that, and I'm so glad she did, because I didn't think I could ever be this happy, never, and content, and able to bring everything now at this point in my life, all my experiences, my emergency services, military, but also social care, to bring it all together. Where I think I like contributing. That's why I do the panels, because you know I try and put stuff in that's based on experience and common sense and stuff like that. And to come to this point, I mean, my aim is to become a magistrate. Yeah. Because I think I've got the firm belief in the need for law and order, but also I can see the other side of it and empathise and understand it, but it'll all be underpinned with the need for accountability. So that's what I want to do, is get that, and also it'd be a personal thing for me as well. You know, who'd have thunk it? 5-year-old stuck in an orphanage, and now I've made it to be a magistrate. You know, I am proud of that I have made it through. God knows how I did it. I really don't know.
You're rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I did get through some of that, but I did. Don't know how. You know, and I don't think there's anything special about me. You know, it's just, I think, other than being probably too stupid for my own good.
Well, you're just a delightfully stubborn bugger, aren't you, really?
Yeah, well, I'm not stubborn at all.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. Is this a 5-minute argument or fall off? And like now, I just can't be bothered arguing with people anymore. You know, I just can't be bothered. Like, if someone wants to be a prat, they can be a prat. I don't need to do it. I don't. Yeah, it's nice to get to this point. It is nice. You know, I sit home and like most of the stuff's online that I do. So, you know, I do these meetings and stuff like that. And it's really interesting, some of it, to see the inner workings and how it happens and to actually have an input on things, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think veterans ever really retire, do they? I've noticed that a lot of veterans.
They like to have something to do.
Yeah. And it is difficult to civilianize as well. It's especially coming from 3 services, where, you know, this is what you do, this is what you look like, this is what you do, and this is how you behave. To realise that the rest of the world doesn't operate in that is a big step.
Yeah. It's vastly different.
Yeah.
Being left to your own devices, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, now if someone says, "Oh, I'll do this," then I've still got that. Well, you said you do it, then do it. But they don't. Not to our timetable, you know. I have to realise that. Claire's always telling me off. Like, should I send another email? No, just wait. So yeah, but no, it's a definite learning process.
Yeah, it's there's a different set of rules and it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, I'm not ashamed to say I've got PTSD. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's mental illness." Yeah, it is a mental illness, but as I learned, it's an illness that's stored in your body. It's a physical thing.
It is very visceral. Yes,
I mean, I must have adrenaline overdose or something. Well, not adrenaline, because I've never been a risk taker, but I've always been. I don't know why, but like if you go to a fire, I don't even think twice. So even in Civvy Street now, if I see an accident or something, I can't help myself. I'm stopping myself doing it, but helping out, if you know, if I can.
Yeah.
But it's definitely changed things. Doing the treatment, you know, I'm so glad I did, to be honest.
No, it's
I'm probably rambling.
No, but you know, you've just to hear you say these things in the way you're saying them today, you know, how you sound and how you look and the way you say it is just, it's just an absolute joy.
It's a lot.
It really is.
It's a joy for me. It really is. I never thought I could be in this position, happy as me. I mean, it's great. You know, I get to wear lipstick and all sorts, and the clothes are much better. Like men, t-shirt and jeans. Oh, I know, it's great. You go shopping, it's terrible. I'm terrible for it. my wife Claire, she, as you know, she collects Vivienne Westwood.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got some weird stuff, but yeah, to have someone by my side like Claire is unbelievable. She's we haven't stopped laughing yet, you know. It's funny. Well, you've seen what we're like together.
Yes.
She calls me a tall poncy twat, and she's my shit covered dyke. I call her that because, well, actually, she runs a wild bird long-term rehab over here, a registered charity. So she's there every day, and it's not unusual to find a dead pigeon somewhere in the house or in her pocket or something. Or
pocket.
We can't seriously. She found 2 dead birds in her pocket once, and there's all sorts. And like there was beetles in the bed. She'd been feeding a baby pigeon mealworms. Dropped a couple and it hatched, and there's all these beetles crawling. It's a nightmare. It's so normal, you know. We're so normal, but no, to have someone with you to help you through it. You know, it might not be an intimate partner. It might be a friend, might be a therapist, but to get through it, to have support around you, go and get the support. It's out there. It's out there. Just have to search it out. Just have to search it out. You know, don't give up. Don't give up. Anyway.
Yeah. Definitely, 100%.
What was it? I can't remember. I don't know. From where I am now, I'm looking at the world, not from an ivory tower or anything. Believe me, everyone just needs to calm down a bit. everyone just needs to calm down, you know. The world's gone crazy at the moment, especially with what's happening in Russia or in Ukraine.
Yeah.
No one knows what is actually happening. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's never as it is on the news, is it?
No,
Really,
never.
not in its
No,
entirety.
no. Yeah, it's a weird time, and we can either make this a disastrous moment in history, or we can actually make something of it and make it a better world for everybody. You know.
Well, let's hope the latter is what comes out of
I
this.
mean, like, we've made a right mess of it so far, humans, haven't we?
We are the biggest pain in the arse on this planet, for sure.
I mean, here we are in 2021, 22, and our way of solving international problems is to destroy someone's body, kill them, and leave them in a field somewhere, and then go on and kill a few more. I mean, that's cavemen were doing that. Have we learned anything?
I know.
Yeah, it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
It's sad. There's so much waste of life.
Yeah.
And all we need is a little bit, like you said, calm down, have a little bit of have some acceptance of other cultures, other people, different opinions. So what if you disagree?
Yeah.
It gives you an opportunity to learn something different.
Well, we both lived all over the world, and we've been lucky that we've seen other cultures, how they live, and they're totally different. It's like, and to be honest, the places I went to, the more different it was, the better. I used to enjoy that. If they lived different in Berlin or wherever, Northern Ireland was a thing for me as well. I went to Northern Ireland in the early 80s as infantry. That was quite a eye opener.
Lively.
Yeah, it was an eye opener as well. Just got flown into the SF base, and there's a wheelbarrow going down the road, and said to this, I think it was IUC, UDR, yeah. I said, what's that? He said, it's a barrow, there's a bomb on the wall. Like it was an everyday thing. And I've just literally got off the helicopter and was like, here we are, it was my first operation.
So what am I doing here?
Yeah, well, end up, it just seemed like a good idea a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just, there's so much in the world now. Like, I think people are growing up now, or it's even spreading into some adults, where there's a sense of entitlement. Which, there is no entitlement. Yeah, we're entitled to equal rights, everybody, which is to walk down the street and everything. Like I said earlier, all this trans rights. If you ask someone, what are the trans rights you want? They won't answer you. I've got the same rights as any other woman, any other birth sex female. I've got the same rights. I could change my birth certificate. It's not intrusive. It's part of the process. It's not intrusive. You've got to do it. You can't sort of turn up at the hospital and say, listen, I fancy having a new heart. Do you mind sticking one in for me? You can't do that. So why should I turn up and say, like, I know that there was a report that one of the youth gender clinics in 3 years went through 35 psychologists because of the culture of not being able to question and say no. 35 psychologists. Where do you find 35 in 3 years?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just crazy. The world's gone crazy. You can't say things, It's hopefully the pendulum tends to swing far to the other side before it settles somewhere, and because all that's happening at the moment is in all things, world conflict, the trans stuff, is people getting their backs up now. They're sick of it,
Yeah,
enough's enough. Like, just calm down. What is it? J.K. Rowling. She's got those opinions. That's her opinion. She's allowed to have them, and she's allowed to voice them. If she's saying, I don't want trans women coming into, say, female spaces, she can say that, and then we can say, well, why is that? And she can say, well, and then that's the way of the world. Not say, listen, you can't even say that. I mean, there's some trans, what is it, doxing, isn't it? They call it, where you give up someone's address. They took pictures protesting outside her house in Doxter. And there was no offence. They said, yes, there was. That's a public order offence. That's harassment. Yeah. Those trans people should have been arrested. You can't go around doing that. She's got an opinion. So what?
But then, that never happens, does it? People are getting away with crime because you could be, then the judicial system, justice system could be seen to be discriminating.
Yeah.
And get their own asses handed to them. which
I
is
know
ridiculous.
policing has changed since I was doing it. Is it necessary to arrest? You have to decide. Well, in my day, if you committed an arrestable offence, you got nicked.
Well,
You know.
yes, that's
And I think the police as well, through no fault of their own, they've become sort of a pseudo army. I mean, when I was a cop, I spent some time as a community bobby. I loved it. I walked around talking to everyone. You say hello to a police officer now, and he looks as if you're mad, and he looks like RoboCop. You know, I know they need these things these days. We needed them back then, but we got by without them. You know,
well,
things do change. Things do change.
yeah.
And you know, I do support them having the means to incapacitate someone like a stun gun, the taser. Yes, they do. I've been in situations where I wish I had one of them. It would have stopped a lot of hassle. You know,
Yeah.
and it would have the victim, not the victim, the suspect wouldn't have got hurt either. You know, it's just I was on a riot team, and like if we had that, it'd be over in 5 minutes. You know, instead of all this rubbish. But I think like the whole idea of policing now, I think they need to go back to the community aspect of it. Be visible, talk to people, get the support of the public because they need it. The police are getting so much stick now. Like I said, I couldn't be a police officer.
It's a pretty horrendous, thankless job
Yeah.
these days, isn't it?
And the media love it. The media love it. Any little miscreant or little misdemeanor, and they're piling them on, like making it look as if the whole of the Metropolitan Police racist, homophobic, or whatever. They're not. There used to be the big canteen culture back in the day, but that's obviously going. It was going when I was in, you know. But yeah, it's difficult times. It's I sometimes fear for what the next generation is going to look like. We'll be left with when we're gone. But
oh no, I'm dreading it. My kids, you know, they're 17 and 16 and 14 at the moment. So
yeah, and they got access to so much information. I saw that meme where it said people thought that lack of information was the problem in society. Turns out it wasn't.
yeah,
this is true.
100%. Yes.
What else was there? I was going to say, I can't remember now. Any questions? Well, no, I've rambled on a bit. You know me.
Well, no, I think you've covered. I think in terms of what you put in your bio and things I had in my head, I think we've kind of. Is that and you've given your, you know, I think you've certainly sharing your experiences is going to be invaluable for some people. Just to hear, hearing that someone else has been through it and has come out, and you've come out the other side in the way that you have.
Oh yeah.
Is, you know, gives hope, encouragement. Hopefully motivates people to kind of dig in and stick in and keep going.
You can have a decent life. You can be happy and content. You might not be rich, you might not have a wife, but you know, that's not, there's more to life than that. You know, you can even just feeling it within yourself, you know, the peace and quiet of not getting wound up at everything, you know, and the slightest thing and next minute off you go again. It's, you know, it's so nice to have the peace, to be honest. And yeah, it took medication, which I don't like to admit, but you know, and with the trans stuff, obviously I talk about it because it's something close to me, that the ridiculousness that's going on and the cancel culture and the threats and the destruction of people's lives. You know, calm down. Free speech means you're gonna hear things you don't like, you know, which is and it's free speech, it's freedom of speech, not the freedom to abuse. So there are ways and means of doing it. Believe me, I've tried the other way, it don't work too well. You know, start sitting down and work together. You know, we all got to live here so one day. You know, we all got to live here, so just sort it out.
Yeah, calm down. A bit of the Michael Winner approach.
Which one's that, Michael Winner? Who's that?
The advert. Remember the calm down, dear. It's just a commercial. Yeah, Michael Winner, the filmmaker, used to do this series of adverts.
Oh right, no.
Have a look on YouTube.
Yeah, I was in Canada at the time. I was there for 18 years.
Yeah, probably was then. Yeah.
It'd be a nice place when it's finished.
Yeah.
Great. But yeah, no, it's it's just you can survive. You can survive. You know, some people don't. That's the way of life. But you know, get out there, get some help. You know, put your big girl panties on and get out there and sort it. You know.
Yeah. Yes. Excellent.
One of my claims to fame is that I was in Berlin when the wall came down. I was stationed there.
That's true. Yes, you were.
That's
Yeah.
one of my claims to fame. We were there for unification. That was interesting. But yeah,
I bet that was an interesting time being there during.
It was a bit weird. It was a bit weird. I mean, the Siebtens-Unistrasse, they used to say they were going to hang the military policemen from all the lamps up there, and they used to hang little plastic skeletons out of the towers at us, and this, that, and the other.
Oh, nice.
We used to construct things out of cardboard and put them on the roof of the van or something and drive down the wall. Trying to identify what it was. So it's quite interesting. I was allowed over to the east, so it was all right. You know, it was different world over there. It's like 1950s. But then suddenly to see everybody just coming back through Checkpoint Charlie, where, you know, I've seen people try to escape and stuff, and it's like, it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, there's some iconic photos of that from throughout the period, isn't there? Of making a break for it.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was a good place, Berlin, though. It was different. Everyone in Berlin, they lived for the day rather than the future, because they never knew what was happening next day. You know, that's the way they lived over there.
Yeah.
And there was everything catered for. It's quite interesting. I was there for 3.5 years, I think I was based there. But no, I think
there's a lot to be said for living for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't change the past, but you can influence the future.
Yeah.
And, you know, life ain't going to be easy. You know, I'm not going to sail through it from here on out. You know, there's going to be little bumps in the road, but, you know.
Excuse me.
Don't be idealistic, you know, don't be idealistic. Don't say, well, this is how I envisage it. But I didn't envisage me being like this. You know, I didn't know what I envisaged going through all the PTSD stuff. But to get to this point, anyone can.
Yeah.
Especially veterans, because, you know, veterans have got bigger balls and, you know, they're trained to get through stuff, you know. You don't give up.
No.
And when they say trained, it's not you have some lessons, it's sort of built into you, isn't it? It's conditioned into you.
It is, yeah.
Straight from basic training day one, and they build you in where, you know, when they say go, you know, run towards that, you do it, and then after you think, hang on, what did that for?
Yeah, shit, that was stupid.
Yeah, I'm doing that again over there then, all right. Yeah. And but so definitely get some help, you know, because it is out there, you know. Whatever works for you, try, and if it doesn't work, if at first it don't succeed, go somewhere else, try something else.
Yeah.
You know, just keep trying, you'll find the answer.
Yeah, it's out there. It's definitely out there.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you, Vicky.
No problem.
For being so open.
Well, it's the only way to be, isn't it? It's be open about it, you know, get some common sense, be open and show people this is you, like this is me, you know. I hope you like me. If you don't, then sorry about that, but have a good day. You know. Yeah, that's where it's got to be. Yeah,
absolutely. Listen, I have no doubt there can be a lot of people who take heart from this, so thank you for sharing.
No problem. My pleasure. And if I need some help to get out the stocks in the village square, I'll give you a bell.
Yeah, all right.
You have to be quick,
and then we'll go to the pub.
Yeah. Pints, don't I? I don't drink baby sham. I have a pint of Guinness. Some things don't change, you know.
Good.
Right, thanks, Simon.
Right, cheers, Vicky. Thanks a lot.